Maybe a bit unusual because usually I do full camera comparison, but I want to start with the portrait camera comparison of the Oppo Find X9 Ultra against the Vivo X300 Ultra because I'm so far behind against all the other creators that are testing and comparing the cameras of smartphones that I have to start somewhere. And yes, the comparison is coming, the full comparison, but we want to start with the portraits, and both are relying of course on their telephoto sensors. The Oppo has a larger one, 1.28 inch size sensor here that we have with 70mm, and we have an 85mm 200 megapixel sensor just like on the predecessor, the X200 Ultra, also on the X300 Ultra, and that's the only sensor. But the Oppo can also take portraits with the 10x sensor, and this will be quite interesting to see. So let's dive right into it and let's get started. So we start off with the tele sensors and compare the portrait shots there. 70mm on the Oppo, and the Vivo has 85mm by default, so it's a lot more cropped in. But what we can see here in terms of colors is much warmer colors here on the Oppo, where the Vivo has much cooler colors. When we take a look at the detail levels, however, what we notice is that it appears to be a bit more natural, a little bit less artificial, more sharp and more detailed on the Oppo in comparison to the Vivo. The Vivo is not bad, but it's in comparison falling apart. When we crop in on the Oppo, which is possible to 85mm as well, the angle is, it was the same tripod, but because the cameras are put on a different side, there's like a little bit to the left here, but still you see that the detail levels here, look at the little hair of my eyebrows, it's much more natural on the Vivo than on the Oppo, than on the Vivo. And when you take a look at the rest here as well, I guess it looks like that the Vivo had some issues in getting the shot sharp at all. The bokeh, background blur and cutouts are good. Let's take a look at the more extreme 6x on the Oppo versus the 135mm, so yeah, basically the same. On the Vivo, same kind of thing. We have a little bit of like the white balance leaning towards white, where here it's leaning towards warmer colors there. Actually, the color of the neon light is more warm than white, it, like seen on the Vivo. The Vivo is good, but the Oppo is still beating a Vivo here in terms of the detail levels there. And I think the eyebrows look a little bit artificial here, where here they look a little bit more natural. So what about the background blur and the cutouts? I think both are doing a fine job. Also here the Vivo has this foreground blur, which is quite good, where the Oppo has also a bit of foreground blur, but way more subtle, this foreground blur, than what the Vivo is doing, which is quite interesting to see. For example, this here is a lot sharper than this here. So, and then when you took a look at the stitching there, it's a lot sharper on the Vivo. But the face, however, appears to be not a lot sharper on the Vivo. So I'm not sure what's going on there. Then the Oppo has an ace up its sleeve, the 10x telezoom, that is really using 10x there and can get even a bit closer, and it's very detailed, it's very good. It can definitely beat and win against the Vivo. Yeah, this is one of the specialties of the Oppo there. And then we check out the 35mm, which should be a specialty of the Vivo because it has a dedicated sensor at 35, where the Oppo is cropping in from the main. And yeah, what can you say? Warmer colors again, a little bit cooler colors. Very identical between those two, not much of a difference. So the advantage that the Vivo should have here at 35mm, it's very subtle. You can see it maybe with the beard hair a bit sharper there. The cutouts are almost identical between those two, besides the color differences between those two. And yeah, colors you can just correct. This appears to be less blurry than this here, which is quite interesting. But the rest is almost identical between those two. So yeah, I don't see much of the benefits of having a dedicated 35mm here in the portrait shot when using 35mm. And then we have 50mm or 47 here on the Oppo Find X9 Ultra. We cannot go to 50 there, it's just like the 2x crop for the portrait shot. What we can see here is that now finally the Vivo got its warmer colors there on my face. And here I think the Vivo is winning. it is a bit sharper, it's a bit more detailed, where it seems to be a bit blurry on the Oppo already, and details is lacking, where the Vivo definitely has the detail in that the Oppo is lacking, especially on the face. So here is the win for the Vivo, but the rest, as you saw, the old and new portrait king still is, I think, the Oppo Find X9 Ultra. The Vivo X300 Ultra is very consistent, but the colors are a bit too cold. Yes, you can fix that, of course. And the detail levels, however, are consistently better on the Find X9 Ultra if you don't go to 2x, because or 50mm roughly equivalent, then I think the Vivo is doing a much better job than the Oppo.